There are moments in life that nobody else will ever see. Moments so small that if someone else watched them, they probably wouldn't think twice about them. The alarm goes off. You know you should get up. You don't. You tell yourself you'll work on that goal after dinner. Dinner comes and goes. You don't. You tell yourself this is the last time you'll waste the evening scrolling through your phone. 2 hours disappear. Nothing changes. To the outside world, those moments don't matter, but to you, they matter more than almost anything, because every one of those moments answers a question. Can I trust myself? I don't think most people realize how often they betray themselves. They think betrayal is something another person does to you. A friend lies, a partner cheats, someone breaks your trust. That's betrayal. But there is another kind, a quieter kind. The kind that happens when your own actions stop matching your own values. When you repeatedly ignore the voice inside you that already knows the right decision. When you choose immediate comfort over the future you say you want. That is self-betrayal. And unlike betrayal from someone else, this one follows you everywhere. Think about the promises you've made to yourself over the last year. Not the promises you made to your boss, not the promises you made to your family, the promises you made to yourself. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to save money. I'm finally going to start that business. I'm going to stop wasting my evenings. I'm going to become disciplined. Now ask yourself something difficult. How many of those promises became actions, and how many became memories? Because every forgotten promise leaves something behind. Not just unfinished work, a little less trust. Your mind is always watching. It notices what you repeatedly do. If you constantly ignore your own commitments, your brain starts adjusting its expectations. It begins to assume that your words don't mean very much, not because it's trying to punish you, because it's learning. Your brain is one of the greatest pattern recognition machines ever created. It doesn't listen to what you hope. It studies what you repeat. If your pattern is inconsistency, your mind prepares for inconsistency. If your pattern is quitting, your mind begins expecting you to quit. If your pattern is following through, your mind starts expecting strength. The pattern becomes the prediction. And the prediction slowly becomes your identity. I think this is one of the reasons people lose motivation. Not because they're incapable, not because they're lazy, because somewhere along the way, they stopped believing their own promises. Imagine hearing the same speech every Monday. This week is different. This time I'll stay consistent. I'm serious now. At first you'd believe it. Then, after enough broken promises, you'd stop listening. That's exactly what happens inside your own mind. Eventually, your subconscious hears another promise and quietly says, "We'll see." That's not weakness. That's learned distrust. The hardest part about self-betrayal is that it rarely feels dramatic. Nobody announces it. There isn't some huge moment where everything falls apart. It's almost always ordinary. It's choosing comfort over growth. Again. It's telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Again. It's lowering your standards just this once. Again. Each decision feels insignificant. But they compound. Just like interest compounds in a bank account, your habits compound into your character. Years later, people call it personality. But what they're often seeing is accumulated repetition. I think one of the greatest misunderstandings about discipline is that people think disciplined people enjoy difficult things more than everyone else. I don't believe that's true. I think disciplined people simply made a decision about which pain they're willing to live with, because there are only two options: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One hurts now and pays you later. The other feels good now and sends you the bill with interest. Everyone pays. The only choice is when. Every time you betray yourself, you're making the future version of yourself carry a heavier burden. You're asking tomorrow's version of you to be stronger because today's version chose comfort. You're asking next month's version of you to fix problems you created this week. You're asking next year's version of you to live with standards you refused to defend today. That's not fair to the person you're becoming. In fact, if you really think about it, your future self has never done anything to deserve being abandoned by your present self. Imagine if your future self could sit across from you right now. Not 10 years from now, just 1 year. Imagine they could tell you exactly where your current habits lead. Imagine they could show you every opportunity you'll miss if nothing changes, every relationship affected, every goal delayed, every ounce of confidence slowly disappearing because you continued breaking promises to yourself. Do you think they'd ask you to wait another week, another month, another year? Or do you think they'd quietly look you in the eye and say, "Please stop making me pay for decisions I didn't make"? I think that's one of the most powerful shifts a person can make. Stop thinking only about the version of yourself that's comfortable today. Start thinking about the version of yourself that's going to inherit every decision you make. Because every action has an owner, and sooner or later, that owner is you. So before we talk about rebuilding self-respect, before we talk about becoming disciplined, before we talk about changing your life, we have to answer one uncomfortable question. Why do we keep betraying the one person who's supposed to be able to trust us the most? Because until that question is answered, nothing else truly changes. I think one of the reasons people continue betraying themselves is because they've become experts at negotiating. Not with other people, with themselves. They negotiate every difficult decision. I'll do it after one more episode. I'll start next Monday. I've had a long day. I deserve a break. I'm just not feeling it today. On the surface, those thoughts seem harmless, reasonable even. But if you pay attention, you'll notice something. The negotiation almost always ends the same way. Comfort wins. And every time comfort wins, your future loses. Imagine hiring someone to build your dream house. Every morning they show up with a list of reasons why they can't work. It's too hot. They're tired. They'll make up for it tomorrow. At first, you'd be patient. Life happens. But after months of excuses, what would you think? You wouldn't trust them with your home. So why do we expect our future to be built by a version of ourselves that we wouldn't trust with a simple promise? It's a difficult question, but it's an honest one. I think we've confused kindness with indulgence. Being kind to yourself doesn't mean lowering your standards every time something feels uncomfortable. It doesn't mean giving yourself permission to quit the moment life gets difficult. Real kindness is helping your future self. Sometimes that means resting. Sometimes that means slowing down. But just as often, it means doing the thing you don't feel like doing. because you know tomorrow's version of you will be grateful you did. There's a phrase that changed the way I think about discipline. Feelings make excellent passengers. They make terrible drivers. If you let your feelings decide every action, your life will constantly change direction. One day you're motivated, the next day you're not. One day you're excited, the next day you're discouraged. One day you believe in yourself, the next day you doubt everything. That's no way to build a life, because emotions are temporary, standards are permanent. The people who accomplish extraordinary things aren't emotionless. They've simply decided that their standards carry more weight than their feelings. Every time you act according to your standards instead of your emotions, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing yourself as someone who only performs when life is easy. You begin seeing yourself as dependable, capable, resilient. That change doesn't happen because someone compliments you. It happens because you witnessed yourself doing something difficult. You collected another piece of evidence, another reason to trust yourself. I think that's why confidence always follows action, not the other way around. People wait until they feel confident to speak up, to apply for the job, to start the business, to walk into the gym. But confidence is usually the reward, not the requirement. The action comes first. The confidence comes later. Every courageous action whispers something to your mind. See, we survived. And eventually those whispers become a belief. One of the greatest dangers in modern life is how easy it is to escape discomfort. The moment boredom appears, there's a screen. The moment loneliness appears, there's endless entertainment. The moment work becomes difficult, there's another distraction waiting. We've built a world where avoiding discomfort is incredibly convenient. The problem is that growth has never lived there. Growth has always lived on the other side of discomfort. It always will. Think back to a moment you're proud of. A real moment. Maybe you completed something you thought you couldn't. Maybe you overcame a fear. Maybe you stayed when everything inside you wanted to leave. I doubt that memory is special because it was easy. It's special because it required something from you. It required courage, discipline, patience, persistence. Those moments become part of your identity because they cost you something. The things we value most are almost always the things we had to earn. I think many people are chasing motivation when what they really need is evidence. Evidence that they're capable. Evidence that they'll keep going. Evidence that their word means something. And there's only one place to find that evidence. In your actions, not tomorrow's actions. Today's, not next month's promises. Today's decisions. Because every decision is another vote, another brick, another piece of the person you're becoming. So maybe the goal isn't to become perfect. Maybe the goal is much simpler. To stop negotiating with the version of yourself that always chooses comfort. To stop asking, what do I feel like doing? And start asking, what kind of person am I trying to become? Because every answer to that question moves you one step closer or one step further away. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that every promise you've ever made to yourself was written in a book. Every goal, every commitment, every moment you looked yourself in the mirror and said, "This is the day everything changes." Now imagine reading that book from beginning to end. How many promises would have check marks next to them? How many would simply stop? No ending, no conclusion, just another chapter that slowly faded away. That isn't meant to make you feel guilty. It's meant to remind you of something. Your life is telling a story. The question is whether you're the author or just the narrator explaining why things never happened. I think one of the greatest tragedies isn't that people fail. It's that they become so familiar with disappointing themselves that they stop expecting anything different. They lower the standard, they stop dreaming as big, they stop setting meaningful goals, not because they don't want them, because they no longer believe themselves. That's what repeated self-betrayal steals from you. It doesn't just steal progress, it steals possibility. But here's what gives me hope. The exact same process that destroyed your self-trust can rebuild it. If repeated excuses weakened it, repeated discipline can strengthen it. If broken promises created doubt, kept promises can create belief. The direction works both ways, which means your past doesn't have to become your future, not if you're willing to start collecting different evidence. The mistake people make is thinking they need one massive act of discipline to change everything. They wait for some dramatic turning point, some movie moment where they suddenly become unstoppable. Life rarely works like that. Real transformation is almost invisible. It's waking up and making the right decision, then doing it again tomorrow, then again the next day. The world doesn't notice, but you do. And that's enough, because you're not trying to impress the world. You're trying to rebuild a relationship with yourself. Think about how trust is earned with another person. You don't trust them because they said the right words once. You trust them because they consistently showed up. When they said they'd call, they called. When they said they'd help, they helped. When life became difficult, they didn't disappear. Consistency created trust. Now become that person for yourself. Become the person whose actions make your own mind relax. The person whose word actually means something. I truly believe that one of the greatest forms of freedom is waking up without having to question yourself. No internal debate, no endless negotiation, no wondering if today's version of you will sabotage tomorrow's goals. Just quiet certainty. I said I would, so I will. That's powerful, not because it's flashy, because it's rare. The world is full of people chasing confidence, but confidence is usually the shadow cast by self-respect. When you respect yourself, you stand differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself differently, not because you're trying to impress anyone, because there's no longer a conflict inside you. Your words and your actions have finally become partners instead of enemies. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from today if you stopped betraying yourself. Not if you became perfect, if you became consistent. Imagine keeping the promises that used to disappear. Imagine following through when no one is watching. Imagine looking in the mirror and feeling proud, not because you've reached every goal, but because you've become someone you can rely on. That person would walk differently, think differently, live differently, not because life got easier, because they got stronger. 1 year from now, your future self won't care how many motivational videos you watched. They won't care how inspired you felt. They won't care how many plans you made. They'll care about one thing. Did you keep your word? Because that's what builds a life. Not intentions, not potential, not talent, integrity. So today, don't make yourself 10 new promises. Make one promise that's small enough to keep, one promise that leaves no room for negotiation, Then keep it. Tomorrow, make another, and another, brick by brick, day by day. That's how trust is rebuilt. That's how self-respect returns. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary, not through one heroic moment, but through thousands of quiet victories that nobody else will ever see. I'll leave you with this. The person you're becoming is listening to every promise you make today. Don't make another promise just to feel better for a moment. Make one you're willing to defend with your actions. Because every time you keep your word, you send yourself a message. I won't abandon you anymore. And there may be no more powerful sentence than that. Your future is waiting. Your standards are waiting. The life you want is waiting. Stop betraying yourself and become someone worthy of your own trust.